Coalition, are you ready?
Ziz, you're not dressed enough.
5 minutes later.
Coalition, to war! Hi, Zizaran here with another build guide for the upcoming 3.20 Sanctum League, and this is a build guide for co-carnage in this community, the Coalition. So this is Vaal Flameblast with Wave of Conviction. It's a really smooth Ignite build. For killing bosses, you're dropping a Vaal Flameblast, and you can use that on rares and uniques as well. And then you're running around with Wave of Conviction and Ignite prolifing the entire map. And as you can see in the background, it looks super smooth and it's just everything melts like butter. So this build is not made for killing pinnacle bosses and things like that. We do have other things like Seismic and Cold Dot that are really good for the insane bosses and high level pinnacle ones. However, this should be enough to kill everything like tier 16s and a lot of the early bosses like Shaper, Elder, and Cyrus, and Maven. And it, in endgame gear, gets like 4.5 plus million DPS, and it looks really solid. Another downside to this build is that it's obviously not as tanky as something like a Trickster or a Champion. It is an Elementalist, and therefore a little bit more squishy. A lot of our single target does come from Vaal Flameblast, so while the Vaal ability is recharging, you're going to have slightly less damage. If these builds help you have a great league start, please consider subscribing. It helps us a lot, and thank you so much for the support. Early on, we're going to be using Spark and Orb of Storms, and then we're going to be using that all the way until normal lab. So Spark obviously got a little bit of a nerf at the end game. It should be fine to get you to normal lab, and worst case scenario, you can over level it a little bit. Once you get normal lab, you will be able to get all your prolif and your ignite chance and things like that, and we can start using our in-game skill, Wave of Conviction. Doing Vaal side areas in this build is really good because obviously we want Vaal Orbs and we want a Vaal Flameblast. So if you haven't followed one of our guides before, in the description you'll find information on how to get PoB, and we're doing our normal step-by-step so that it's very easy to follow for new players, and you can see exactly where you're going to put your skill points as you're progressing through the tree. Another thing worth mentioning is that there might be a warning saying, warning, this is the 3.19 build, do you want to convert it? This is not a 3.19 build, but Path of Building hasn't updated yet. So once it does, we'll put everything there, but it is just a visual thing. This is made with 3.20 in mind. If you go to the item sets, you can see different ones that we're using for early, mid, and end game. And as per usual for our league starters, everything early on is just life and resists. For damage early, you just want percentage fire damage, elemental damage, fire damage over time multiplier, or plus fire spell skill gems. For this build, since we're using Ignite, spell damage is not as good as the others because that's not affecting our Ignite and only our initial hit. Later in the main game, we've given some more examples for gear, and we've also given some super endgame gear that if you do get rich or find something really nice, here are some items you can choose to go for. It is worth noting that while the PoB DPS looks insanely high, and obviously ignore this number, that's not what we're looking for, we're looking at this number. However, you're not going to have Elemental Overload for your Vaal Flameblast most of the time, so even in all that endgame gear, we are looking at around 4 million damage. So if you go to the notes section, we have loads of extra information here. Like, for example, about the PoB tree, if you haven't paid attention to the video, or why does Flameblast casting feel so bad, which we don't use in the build, we only want it for Vaal Flameblast, so you drop it on rares, unique bosses, etc. Another big problem for the build, some people might not be able to cast Malevolence, and then you're going to need more energy shield on your gear. A Crystal Bell can be really easy to fix this problem. Everything here should give you loads of information, and if you're struggling, drop by the channel and ask some questions there. So once you get Eldritch Battery, this build should no longer need a mana flask. And if you are still struggling with mana, get some more energy shield and that'll help out massively. One thing that's really good if you're having mana issues is to remember that there is a Veiled Betrayal craft that gives 150 regen when close to unique or rare monsters. This would be really nice for regenerating your mana for single target. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this ends up helping you a lot in the upcoming Sanctum League. Good luck, sub if you liked the video, but more importantly, try to die less than I do.